Hi, everyone, and welcome to my 30th episode tonight of Strain Miami. I want to thank you all for tuning in all these weeks throughout this pandemic and throughout these situations that we've been living through daily in our world, in our nation. And tonight's my 30th episode, and I couldn't be happier to celebrate it with one of the most lovable people that I've ever met. Um, she is just personable. She's lovable. She is the sweetest. Ladies and gentlemen, America's sweetheart, Tiffany D. Hunter. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, honey. How are you?
How are you feeling?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for
You look
having me.
beautiful.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I was actually able to be ready for this. The last interview I did, I forgot that they were also on Eastern time, and
Uh
I didn't even pay attention and was like, ah.
huh.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you've been doing during this time.
I've actually been doing really well. I'm kind of a homebody for the most part, and an introvert. I don't think a lot of people know that except like my really close friends. So it was actually harder for me to come out of quarantine than it was for me to go in or be in quarantine. So I didn't actually mind it at all. It was kind of nice to have a little retreat and just kind of, catch up on family and TV, movies, my cat.
We're
So
gonna
I
talk about
actually
that.
didn't mind it.
Yeah,
And
we're
fortunately,
gonna.
everybody that my family's been very healthy and safe through this, so that's
Oh,
been
good,
very
good.
fortunate.
And I'm glad to hear that. We're gonna be talking about that because during this quarantine, there's a lot of soul searching and a lot of things that we go through and reflections about ourselves, etc. But we're gonna get to that. I wanna start a conversation with you because there's so much to you, and I want everybody to hear your story, and I'm certainly excited to hear about it too. So how about we go on with our first segment? You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So this is my first segment. It's called Back to Basics, and what I want to do here, I'm gonna give you a bunch of little questions, and I want quick, short answers from you, as
Oh
fast
God.
as
Okay.
you can.
Speed
All right?
round. Okay.
Yeah. So, you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
When's your birthday?
February 7th.
If you had to be a food, what would you be?
Oh, pineapple.
If you had to be a drink, what would you be?
Milk. It does the body good.
Favorite flower?
Tulip.
Hot or cold?
Cold. I run very hot, so I.
Really? The pool or the beach?
Oh, can I be both?
Person in history that you find most inspiring?
Michelle Obama.
Your favorite actress?
Julie Roberts.
Your favorite book?
Oh, does it make me sound stupid if I say Harry Potter?
I love Harry Potter. I have all the books. I have all the books.
Same.
So, what accessory you can't live without?
Okay, so I actually hate accessories for the most part. Like I hate wearing rings, bracelets. The only necklace I ever wear is this one here. That it's actually the necklace is from my mother, and then the ring that's on the end of it is from my grandmother, and she passed away. So this is really the only accessory that I kind of hold dear to my heart that I always wear.
Amazing. So you did so well. So you won. You actually won an interview with me. So we're gonna get to it.
Yay!
So I just wanna touch base on your childhood and get some of that story. That back end story that some people might know, but a lot of people do not know about you. And we're about to dive deep. So let's go. We're actually the same age. We're both the same age, and
I didn't wait. How do you know that? Because I didn't tell you what year I was born.
I did my homework, and then you're gonna find out later on how I know most of the things about you. So, I know that we're both the same age, but tell me, where were you born?
I grew up about an hour northeast of St. Louis in a small town. I was born in Alton, Illinois, but my family farm is near Bunker Hill. So it's between Bunker Hill and Staunton, Illinois. So that's where I grew up, and I lived there until I graduated high school.
How was that, like living on a farm?
I wouldn't change it for the world. Growing up on a farm, it really taught me a lot of like core values, how to appreciate, the little things in life. And like growing up, my only friends were really my siblings and my cousins, and that we went creek walking and played in the hayloft and built forts with straw bales. And I just that was kind of like the greatest childhood growing up, because it wasn't like now where we have all these devices and
Right,
kids are playing
right.
video games and things like
Did you
that.
have
So
animals and things and all of that?
oh yeah. Well, back then, so when I was very young, we had pigs and cows. And then I don't really remember the pigs because I was pretty young when we got rid of them. But we had dairy cows and beef cows until I was about 11. And then my dad and grandpa sold off all the dairy cows and the dairy equipment. My dad still currently farms crops and has beef cows.
And do they still live in the farm, your
Yep.
parents?
Yep. Same house. My dad built the house the year I was born, and we moved into it
Oh, wow.
when I was 2 years old. So, because he did most of the work himself, so it's still the same house that I grew up in.
So tell me, how was your family life when you were just a kid?
I really had a great family, and I think most of it I kind of give credit to my mom and my dad and my grandma, because a lot of other people in the family didn't necessarily quite get who I was even before I came out. Oh, there they are. That's so cute. But they've always been crusaders for me. And the very first time after I came out as trans, the very first time I went to a family function, I was so nervous. And my mom actually met me in the parking lot. And I didn't know it until years later, but my grandmother and my mom actually both made a speech to everybody, because it was like aunts, uncles, cousins, all of their families. And they made a speech to everybody saying, this is Tiffany, you will use female pronouns, and if anybody has a problem with it, you need to leave right now. So and I of course didn't know that, and they didn't tell me for a long time. But
Tell me who they are. So the lady in the ivory dress, that is your mother?
This the one on the left there in the ivory, that's my stepmother.
That's your stepmother?
Yep, my mom, my stepmom, and my dad have been married for 22 years in May.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the handsome gentleman there is my father.
Yes.
And then the one next to me is my mom, and my parents were actually married for 20 years before they got divorced as well. And then there on the far right is my sister Holly. And
yeah, your sister Holly.
She's my middle sister. So I have all my sisters are older than me, and she's in the middle.
Okay, she's in the middle.
That was my stepdad from Continental. And then when I won, my youngest sister Lisa was there, but the year that I was giving it up, she was pregnant with twins, so she wasn't able to come.
Oh, really? And how? So the twins are about 5 years old, 5-year-olds now.
4 or 5. They were born in 16. 4, little 4.
4. Okay. You have 4.5. You have an amazing relationship with your family, and especially with your sisters. You're very close to your sister, but you lost your older sister back in 2015. And you introduced us to this actually during Continental Weekend back in that year. Let's hear about it.
Tiffany, if you could choose one person to be in this audience tonight, who would it be? Now, the one person that I would choose is my sister, Becky, who passed away in a car accident in February. She was one of those people that just lit up the room and never, ever let you down, never had anything negative.
I have to do this again. I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry, because I didn't tell you I was going to play a video, and you have to click the thing. Yes, I'm so sorry. And I didn't want you, we didn't hear what you had to say. So that was my fault. So I'm going to, you introduced us to this about your sister, about you losing your sister back in 2015 when you competed at Continental, and that was part of your question and answer. So I'm about to play a video, so you can hit that little button right there, and you can hear what you said.
Tiffany, if you could choose one person to be in this audience tonight, who would it be? Now, the one person that I would choose is my sister, Becky, who passed away in a car accident in February. She was one of those people that just lit up the room and never, ever let you down, never had anything negative to say about anybody, and was just a true, genuine spirit. And I know that if she was still here, she'd be sitting right over there with my family and screaming the loudest. So thank you so much. I am Tiffany T. Hunter. Thank you.
Today's actually a special day because I believe if not today, yesterday was your sister's birthday. So
It's today.
tell me today we would celebrate your sister's birthday, Becky.
Who have you been talking to?
I do my homework. I want you to tell me, what do you miss the most about your sister, Rebecca?
I miss her smile and the way her hair smelled. She had this big, poofy, brown, curly hair. She always wore it down. When you hugged her, you could always just smell her hair, and it was just, yeah.
What's the one anecdote with your sister that stands out to you the most?
What do you mean?
Just anything, any memory that that you can remember out of the blue, with your sister that just stands out to you today.
Anytime there was arguments or disagreements in the family, she was always kind of the one that calmed everybody down and got everybody on the same side. When we were getting pictures together for a funeral, it was literally impossible to find a bad picture of her because she was just smiling from ear to ear in every single photo that we found. She was just a really happy person.
Tell me about your sisters Lisa and Holly.
So my sister Lisa, she is married. She's got 5 kids, including 2 twins. So her twins are like 4.5, almost 4.5. Her oldest just turned 19, so she's got a lot on her plate. My sister Holly, the blonde there, she's kind of always the one who would lick her finger and put it in my ear, or tickle me, pinch me. She used to call me her baby brother, and now she calls me her baby sister. When she texts me, it's always, "Hey, baby sis, how are you?" She just loves to pick on me out of love, and she's also married. She has 1 child, who actually will be a sophomore in high school this year. So I have 11 nieces and nephews total out of all of them. Yeah.
11.
Yes.
How's that role for you of being an aunt?
I love it. I don't think kids are for me, but I love being able to spend time with my nieces and nephews and, seeing their milestones in life as they grow up. And I just really enjoy it. And I like being kind of the fun Aunt Tiffany. When their parents say no, I can, go behind their back and give them what they want.
So, I tend to do my research really well, and I make people cry. And I don't really mean to, but I just try to make moments kind of special. And I have something for you that might make you cry. So I just want to warn you, because I know that, it breaks my heart that I don't want you to feel bad. But I do have a video that I want to play so that you can click that button so you can hear it from your sister, Holly.
My name is Holly Moore. I am Tiffany's older sister. I would just like to say what a wonderful person she is. She is loving, caring, compassionate, extremely loyal. A testament to how wonderful of a person she is that anytime I've attended any of her shows or functions, I will have complete strangers approach me all evening long and just tell me how much they just love and adore her. This just warms my heart completely to know that she is just so loved and appreciated throughout her entire community. Tiffany and I have always had a very special bond. I just kind of took it under myself to, kind of always be her protector. I said my admiration of her for, doing what she's done and, always just pursuing her dreams and succeeding at them to such heights is just absolutely amazing. I remember when she won Miss Continental back in 2015. It was the year we lost our oldest sister. And Tiffany made a point of carrying Becky's hair tie with her, her scrunchie, through the entire weekend. And we all know that Becky was with us in spirit. I'm sorry, today is a little emotional. Today is Becky's birthday. So, in this life, they always say to get the true image of what a person is, you should see it through the eyes of children, because they are, they don't hold back. They tell you how life really is. And seeing Tiffany through the eyes of my daughter, who's 15 now, As she's grown up, my daughter idolizes Tiffany, and is just in awe of the fact that Tiffany has risen to the top of the ranks in her profession. She is just, I can't say it enough, just so poised and great.
Hold on.
Take your time. Take your time. This is a moment that Tiffany was not expecting, and I knew that it would be something powerful for her. But her family is so inspired by the way that Tiffany has lived her life, the way that Tiffany carries herself, the way that she has overcome um, the obstacles that have been set for her because of life in general. And this is one of the first times where she actually hears it in this way. So uh, it's a special moment, and it's a special day for her. That you inspire not only your sisters, and they have so much respect for you, Tiffany, but also your nieces. Like your sister Holly mentioned. You are you're her daughter's idol, and she respects you and loves you so much. What does that mean to you?
Oh, my oldest two nieces are 14 and 15, and when they were little, back then they were into One Direction, and so that was what I got them for Christmas was One Direction stuff. And when they were around the same age, we used to do arts and crafts, and they would want me to teach them how to do makeup or paint their nails because they knew Aunt Tiffany was in like a showgirl industry, and so they've always just been infatuated with what I do. And I actually 3 summers ago, I went on a vacation with my mom and the oldest of her grandkids, my oldest nieces and nephews. And my nephews brought a friend along, and the boys at that time were 15, and now they're 18. And he said, his friend said, "Oh my God, this is the famous Aunt Tiffany." He said, "I heard you're a celebrity and you've met celebrities." And so like, it's the best feeling in the world to know that my nieces and nephews just think the world of me. So, and I think the world of them.
They do.
And I hate crying in front of people, by the way, so I hate you.
I know you would, but I warned you though. I warned you. I was nice enough to warn you that this might be a moment. So I don't feel that bad. But it is beautiful. It is beautiful to hear, your family and especially your sister Holly just speak like that of you. When you were a child, what was it that you feared the most? What was your biggest fear that you can remember?
I think just letting my parents down. Right now, I would say I know my mom I'm single. I've pretty much, I've had a few short-term boyfriends here and there, and I think my mom worries a lot about, me not finding somebody. And so last fall, she had a pretty severe surgery, and I went and spent a lot of time with her, about like 3 or 4 days a week for a couple months. And I kind of explained to her how difficult, how dating for me is just different than it is for dating for other people. And so I think she got it, but I also think it made her worry about me even more. So right now, my biggest thing is I just want my mom to not worry about me because I know she does. So, but.
Is that still your fear, letting them down?
Yeah.
It is.
I just want to make my parents proud of me.
But do you know that they are? Because they are.
I get that. And I just hate that. I know my mom worries about me still, and so that kind of hurts. It hurts my heart. But.
Did you always, when you were growing up, did you know that you were different?
Always. I didn't know what it meant though. When I was young, I had 3 older sisters, so there was lots of dolls and Barbies and stuff in the house, and I loved to play with their toys, as opposed to the toys that I was bought, early on. And my sisters, of course, loved to dress me up. So they would dress me up in their makeup and their clothes and stuff. And so and I loved it. I would put towels around my head, pretend it was, hair, or, wrap sheets around my, my top to make it look like a gown. But I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know that it made me different. And then eventually, middle school or junior high, I started to have the attraction to boys and not girls. And that's kind of when I really knew that I was different than anyone I knew. I never at all thought that I was transgendered until I turned 18. And I was at a gay bar. I actually went and actually worked at a strip club, a male strip club, as a cocktail server. and they had a drag show on Thursdays, and there was several transsexual women who performed in the drag show, and I just couldn't believe that was even a thing. I didn't even know that it existed. And then so I would come early because I didn't have to be there until the show started to cocktail serve, but I would come like 2 hours early so I could sit in the back with them while they got ready, and I would ask them questions, and I was just floored that something like this was even a possibility for me. And that was when I was 18, and then I decided at 21 that I was trans, or that I felt transgendered. Then I actively pursued my transition when I was 22, and then I started living full time as a woman when I was 23.
When you were 23, but let's backtrack a little bit. During high school, you were bullied a lot because you were not, you were feminine. You had certain mannerisms and stuff like that, and you dealt with a lot of bullying. Now, what's one episode that you can remember that kind of affected you that still stands out to you in your mind?
Well, honestly, like I think every day, I would say from like fourth grade until high school, I don't think a day went by that I wasn't called queer, faggot, or the one they really loved. My last name was Jarman. They would love to say, "Jarman, are you a fag?" They would always make it in a question form. And then every day, every single day. And then my sophomore year, I finally came out, and once I came out, those questions of "Jarman, are you a fag?" kind of, ceased.
Right.
And then it went from every day to maybe a couple times a week that I would get, faggot or queer. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody with these words, but
no, I think this is part of our story. It's part of a lot of our experiences, and that's what we're doing today. Telling our stories. I want to ask you a question. You are so in tune with, with your nephews and your nieces' lives, and have seen them grow up and everything. As a parent, if you were a parent, how would you deal with this type of bullying if it happened to your kid?
Wow. So when I was PE was really hard for me growing up, having to dress in the boys' locker room and get made fun of and play the boy sports that they made us play. And then when I got into high school, it was second semester of my freshman year, and the athletic office was also in the boys' locker room, and the athletic director, it was obvious to everybody that I was getting picked on and pushed around. And the athletic director, who was also my history teacher, who was, shout out, his name was Scott Tonzer, and he kind of saved my life because it was getting really bad, and I would, of course, never was going to say anything. I couldn't tell my mom that I was getting picked on for being gay because I hadn't even told her at the time. And the athletic coach went to my principal and told the principal that there was a problem, that they needed to help me. And I didn't even know that he had done that until one day after school I got called into the office and my mom was there. And they made the decision that they could, because technically you have to have a certain amount of like PE credits or whatever. And they were able to figure it out so that I could get out of PE for the rest of high school. So I had to kind of do a few different things, like volunteer stuff to get out of it. But if it wasn't for Mr. Tomzer, I don't know what would have happened. So I think even though my mom didn't know that I was like, I'm sure she knew, but even though I hadn't been out to her at the time, the fact that she came into the office and knew that there was a problem, and she was the one who she actually said a lot of cuss words to the principal because the principal at the time did not want to fix the situation, and my mom really stood up for me, and pretty much told him that she would sue the school if he didn't find a way to protect me.
Who in your family are you most alike? Not only physically, but just who you are.
Oh God, I would say I'm seriously a half and half combination of my mom and my dad.
Yeah,
like they're both my heroes.
What qualities of your dad do you have, and what qualities of your mom do you share?
My mom and I bond over Hallmark movies and Christmas movies and holidays. We both kind of yell a lot, more mad, and we're a little bossy. My dad, he just has a big heart, and he's a big softie, and all my friends that meet him, because he's such a masculine, like muscular guy, he's not what anybody would expect when they meet him. He's just such a soft, like warm person, much like my grandma, which was his mother. They just have big hearts.
I know you mentioned that you moved out when you were 18. You started your transition at 22, and you were living full time as a woman. as when you were 23 years old. You know, you played a little, it was part of your talent, one of your talents, a little video that shows different pictures of yourself, you know, as you in your different stages of your life. And I want to play that for everybody before we get to the next question.
Okay.
I wanna sing, I wanna shout, I wanna scream till the words dry out. So put it in all of the papers. I'm not afraid. You can read all about it. Read all about it. Oh.
That's beautiful. You know, living on your own and starting a new life, you know, on your own, in as an independent woman. You know, tell me, what was one of the biggest? Do you feel was one of the biggest challenges that you had to face? You know, in during this time.
During transitioning.
Yeah, when you started living on your own.
I think the biggest obstacle or hurdle that I had to overcome was just being confident in myself, being able to be okay that if somebody looks at me, they know that I'm a transgendered woman. Because I think so many, and even myself, at the beginning of my transition, I was so worried about fooling everybody. I had, you know, I didn't want anyone to know that I was transgendered. I wanted them just to see me as a woman. And if I got, you know, clocked or anything, you know, it would devastate me. And it took a long time for me to come to a comfortable place that I'm just a different kind of woman, and it's okay. I don't mind, you know, if they know that I'm trans. And a lot of times, you know, children, you know, especially, you know, will look at you and say, you know, Mom, is that a man or a boy? You know, and I've educated multiple children that I didn't even know that I was a transgendered woman. So.
Around this time, you were about 23 years old when you met this person. Tell me about this picture.
No, we actually met when we were 19.
Oh,
Yeah,
you when you were 19. So then, what? Tell me about
Yeah.
this picture. Where were you? What were you doing?
So we met in June of 2003. We were 19, and this picture was August of 2003.
But who is this?
That is me and Brian, my best friend. God, I was pretty, wasn't I? We were at, I think we were at the Mr. Oh my God!
I was 18 in that picture. Thank you. You were
Okay.
19.
Brian is much younger than me, so he was like three weeks from his 19th birthday.
So there's a funny story here
Oh.
because you know that when I was going crazy at my house when this whole COVID started and stuff like that, and I said, you know, I'm gonna be fine. I'm blessed to live in a big house here in Florida, and I said I have plenty to do in the yard and this and that. So I spent 2 weeks doing things around the house, and you know, there's so much yard work you can do, girl. I mean, and closets to clean and all of that. So I was like, I need to do something. Like, I need to talk to people. I need to socialize. I need to do something. So I thought about doing this, right? This show. And the first person that I called was Brian. And I said, would you do this with me? And would you co-host this with me? You know, so that we can do this together, because I'm bored boots. So we talked about it, and then he stood me up. So then I started it on my own.
Okay, that is not what happened. First of all, you can't even pull that one because Tiffany knows the whole story. I actually talked to her about it first, then told you I would do it with you. Surprise!
So today he's actually co-hosting this thing with me because of you, Tiffany.
So now you're probably wondering why. Like, how did
I love
Raul
that.
know so much about me?
Okay. I'm glad you put on your best blouse for us.
I did.
So I'm gonna bring in.
Are you supposed to wear a button up for this? People don't care about me.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring in Brian later on. He's gonna be doing the next segment, Real Talk. So, but I just wanted to just bring him in and lighten up the mood, because I know that you were gagging, girl, with that first segment.
I'll go do a costume change real quick.
Oh,
all right.
kidding.
So we'll see you soon. So tell me, who is Krista Versace to you?
So she was kind of my drag mother when I first started doing drag. So that show that I told you about that I went to when I was 18, she was one of the cast members there, along with several other local St. Louis local entertainers that I consider like my council of drag moms that all kind of helped me, grow up into who I am today. So Krista and I were very close for several years. We did have a falling out that we both, we both regret. And I know, she said things that I know she didn't mean, and she takes back and has apologized for, as well as I. And about 3.5 years ago, we reconciled, and now we're, closer than ever. And I'm grateful to have her part of my life.
So, of course, I had to ask Krista about what she thought about you, and this is what she had to say.
Oh my gosh, I have known Tiffany Hunter since she was a wee little child, and she used to wait tables at a nightclub in just a pair of little underwear. And now look at her, she's a full-grown woman. Tiffany is a sweetheart. She's a genuine person. She cares about her family. She cares about her friends. She's good to our community. She's been a positive asset in the St. Louis area drag community and also nationwide. She is my child, and I am very proud of her that she has learned a lot and carried it throughout the nation and added her own little touch to it as well. So when you talk about Tiffany T. Hunter being America's sweetheart, that's 100% correct. I love her with all my heart and wish her always the best of luck. Love you, T.
Oh, Krista, if you're watching, I love you too.
So, you were named America's sweetheart. I mean, that's how you're known nationwide and in some parts of the world. Everyone loves you and they expect you to be that way. Lovable, calm, nice, smiley, 24/7. Does this put pressure on you at some times?
It does. So I don't necessarily like the whole America's sweetheart thing. I don't really get it, because like when I was Miss Continental, people would tell me, compliment me about how nice I was and approachable, and I was just doing what I thought, came natural. Like I don't think I'm doing anything extra. But if people think that I'm, a sweet person, then I take it as a compliment. But I definitely don't try to be that person. I just try to be a good person. It does put a lot of stress on, because as I said earlier, I am a little bit of an introvert and a homebody. So when I go out to large gatherings, and sometimes it's hard to remember names, and so I do my best. Like that's probably the hardest thing, is unless I've had an actual conversation, interaction with somebody, just in passing, it's hard for me to remember people's names, but I don't forget faces. But it is a little bit challenging, to, I guess, be what people expect.
Well, yeah, I would, because if I want to cuss somebody out today, then I'm not America's sweetheart today, So it's like you don't have the freedom to act up,
That's also not just who I am. Like, I just, you don't gain anything. Like, I personally don't see a gain in dragging somebody else down for no reason. And I always say that, like, if you attack somebody, that says more about your character than it does about the person you're attacking. So like if I have a disagreement with somebody, I just keep it to myself, or I vent to my friend circle about it instead of taking to social media. I always take my stance on social media as if, and my mom used to have Facebook and she hasn't had it for years, but it's out there on the internet. And so I would say, like, I would never put anything on the internet or like Facebook, whatever, that I wouldn't want my mom to be proud of. So.
There's a lot of controversy right now about the situation in Hamburger Mary, St. Louis, which prompted you to resign from your position as a cast member. In your own words, and to the extent of what you feel comfortable in sharing, tell me what happened.
I worked there for 2.5 years, and I saw and witnessed, heard about a lot of bad things, and I felt guilty for being silent for the sake of a job, and this is very difficult for me to talk about, because I do care about the people who even still work there. So I definitely don't, my love goes out to them, and I know they have their reasons for staying. So I'm not dragging them to them at all. Like I get it. But I couldn't do it any longer. I had to make a moral and ethical decision to just back away. Because I felt guilty being a part of the problem by not saying anything. So, it's very unfortunate. And, you know, I've seen there's a lot of mixed stories about exactly what happened, and it's not my place to share those stories because they're not my own. I was just a bystander. And I definitely, you know, can't say where these stories came from or who they are, but they're out there. And it would be really nice if this person could actually just accept that. And you don't have to be racist, I don't think, to say something racist. We could all, you know, I don't consider myself racist, but I could say something that could offend somebody racially. But it's my job to, if they bring it to me, to tell me that it hurt them and for me to understand and change. And I wish this person could understand that the things that he has said and done hurt people. And that doesn't necessarily make him a bad person if he can understand that he hurt them and he can change. And I wish that could be the outcome, but I don't feel that it will be.
Thank you for that. What is your passion? What is that one thing that keeps you going?
Oh, I just love my friends and my cat and my family, you know. I don't do a whole lot. I have a beautiful kitty cat named Tyrone. He just celebrated his 15th birthday this past April. I got him when he was 6 weeks old. And honestly, he's my passion. Like, he's my baby. He's like more like a dog. You know, he greets me at the door. I literally carry him to bed. He sleeps, you know, on the other side of the bed next to me on a pillow. So he's kind of my baby.
That's awesome. I have two dogs. One of them is Chase and the other one's Liam. And they also, I mean, sometimes they take over the bed for some reason, you know. It's like you gotta move them. Let's get to some gay shit, some pageant stuff and some good stuff. Let's change it up a little bit. You ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's our time. It's our time. But before I move on, yeah, you changed. Thank God. Thank you for us. Before I move on, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to my girls. I have Sun of the Lights live feed hair sale every Saturday at 1 p.m. She does fabulous hair. And, you know, she's working really hard because I see her expanding the line and she's getting all these other styles and colors in there. So if you have not seen it and tuned in for her products, please tune in every Saturday at 1 p.m. I definitely should buy some hair and wear it. I don't because it's too hot in Florida, but I definitely should. Also, we have Trinity K. Bonet's, her shows on Sundays, and Desiree De Mornay's shows on this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And after this show, we have the wonderful Tasha Long with her oldies but goodies theme that she has for this week. So I know she's going to be pulling out some of that good old drag. So those are my girls.
They've been killing it online, up and down my feed. Miss Sonia with her hair. I know so many people who purchase her hair. Desiree hasn't repeated a single thing. Tasha she is a legend. There was another one. Now I feel bad for even mentioning, but like those are like the best ads because they're doing their thing on Facebook.
Yeah. So take it away. What's up?
Perfect. What's up, T? Surprise.
Hi.
Tiffany, I know the story, but not everyone knows the story. Tiffany T. Hunter. And so many people like the Tiffany T. Hunter, like your name has a ring to it. How did that come about?
So when I was 18 and I started working at that bar that I talked about earlier, I started dating the bartender who did male performance, and his name was Damian Tyler. Shout out to Damian, he's watching. And he had a 9-year-old daughter at the time who lived with him. And after about 6 months of us dating, I moved in with them and kind of became, you know, stepmom. Her name was Tiffany. And then 9 months after we started dating, he was going to Mr. Gay USA Unlimited in Hickory, North Carolina. And he had a benefit show at the bar. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do drag because that'll, you know, everybody was like, oh, we love Kyle. Well, and if I did drag, it'll bring everybody in. So I was like, what am I going to be? Well, his daughter said, you should be Tiffany. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that is a great idea. So I thought, I'm going to be Tiffany Tyler, which was his last name. I did that benefit show. I did another gay pride benefit show. And then in August of that year, so my third show, 3 months in, my drag daddy was going to the same pageant, Mr. Gay USA Unlimited. His name was Logan Hunter. And so I did his benefit show. And after his benefit show, he said, girl, you need some help.
No.
So he kind of took me under his wing. And I then adapted the Tyler to T and became Tiffany T. Hunter.
Love it. Love it. You
I
get
always tell people it's a boring story.
Yeah, you get asked about that middle initial a lot, don't you?
Yes.
I know, I've been there for some of them. I love it. Yeah, well, so far it checks out. That's the same story I've known for the last 17 years. How did you get into pageants? What drew you to them? You've done them for a long time now, so.
Yeah, so I kind of started doing drag seriously, or I guess frequently anyways, like 2004, 2005. So about a year after I kind of started. And I wasn't really getting booked everywhere that I wanted to get booked. And I saw a lot of girls, you know, getting bookings over me. And a fellow drag queen, someone who I consider my council of drag moms, Eric Lee Foster, she told me, she said, you need to do a pageant if you want to get booked. Because St. Louis is a heavy pageant city. I mean, there is literally a pageant in St. Louis every weekend. And so she said, girl, if you want to get booked more, you got to do a pageant. So the first pageant that I did was actually in, ooh, look at her. The first pageant I did was actually in Minnesota after you moved up there. I'm sorry, no, take it back. I did Miss Boxers and Briefs with the bar I worked at. Got first runner-up to Erica Lee Foster, might I add, by like 1 point. Is that right, Brian?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and she was a former Miss Gay Missouri. So did that pageant, and then I did a Missouri
Don't worry, I
State.
did not send pictures of that pageant to Raul.
No. I did a Missouri State pageant that Vicki Valentina owned. The very first year she had Missouri State. And I was second runner-up to that, and that was like October of 2005. Again, we don't need pictures from that either. Then I didn't do a pageant until February of 2007. I did Minnesota US of A. I got first runner-up. I went to nationals then and placed 25 out of 45. So that was the year that Asia O'Hara won. So I always joke with Asia that I'm her 24th runner-up. So I told her, I said, don't mess it up, because, you know, I'm in line for the crown. And then I didn't do a pageant. At that point, I was already transitioning, but hadn't done I was living as a woman, but hadn't done everything I wanted to do. So I kind of waited until summer of 2008 to do my next pageant. Again, it happened to be in Minnesota. And I did a bar pageant up there and won. And that was my first crown. Then I went back to St. Louis, and I really wanted to do something that was close to my heart, and that was Missouri Continental. And the reason being that my council of drag moms that I consider have all been former Miss Missouri Continentals. Chris Versace, Alexis Principal, Crystal Light, Erica Lee Foster, so plus many, many more. I mean, there's tons of them that I look up to. And so I really wanted to be Missouri Continental. So my first Continental journey was actually just to be Missouri Continental. I didn't care about Continental. I admired it, but I never thought it would be obtainable. You know, I was like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to be a hot mess, whatever, but I'm going to have fun. I want to make my friends proud of me. So I went to Continental that year, and this was 2009. And I finished like 9th or 10th, I think.
8th.
Right? Oh, 8th. Woo! And then so after that, I was like,
It's because you were first. You skipped the whole thing, Tiff. Jeez. Good thing I'm here. You were first runner-up to Missouri Continental, the Courtney Van Wale, Vancy Vega.
Okay, so I didn't say who I was first runner-up to. You're right. So
if you ever need to write a book, they need to call this man, because he knows more facts than you do about your own life. It's crazy.
He does. Yeah, so I was first runner-up to Courtney by 3 points. And then so I went to Continental again. Courtney and I both made the top 12. And then the next year I was like, well, I still really wanted to be Missouri Continental. So I did Missouri Continental again in May of 2010, and I was first runner-up to Fantasia L'Amour. Not by 3 points. I think there was like 20 or 30 points. So went to Continental that year, again, made the top 12, and as we know, I believe was she first runner-up?
Second runner-up.
Second runner-up that year. So then that was when I was like, okay, now I can do this. But I was a little heartbroken over the Missouri Continental situation. just being first runner-up 2 years in a row. And I had other promoters who were reaching out to me, and nothing against Missouri Continental, but I formed a bond with a promoter named Steve Senna, who owned Heart of America Continental. So I did his prelim in 2011, won that, went to nationals, got second runner-up, and then that was the second runner-up placement in 2011 was really what lit the fire under me, and I was like, I can do this. And it was literally a 24/7, 365-day goal for my friends and I to get me to win Miss Continental. It took a long time.
We'll talk about Continental a little bit.
Yeah, we will get to Continental in a moment, but before we get there, you are the reigning All-American Goddess now.
Yeah.
And out of all, you spent 5 years, 6 years going to Continental, and of all the other systems that you could have chosen out there, why did you decide on this one in particular?
So, in all transparency and honesty, I actually wasn't familiar with AEG a whole lot. I knew about it. I would always watch the results, but I didn't necessarily know a lot about the categories or the system. And then Nikki Dixon, who was one of my best friends, was coming to visit for me for a weekend in February of 2017. And I had booked her in shows for that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday. But that Sunday, we had no shows. We were just going to, hang out. Well, they had advertised a Missouri All-American Goddess pageant that Sunday. And so I called her up and I was like, Nikki, you should do this pageant. The promoter told me that they had no contestants interested. So I was like, I'll pay your entry fee. Here, this is what you're going to do for costume. Wear this gown. Do this talent. I'll pay for your dancers to get here. And so she entered the pageant. And there were actually 3 other contestants who entered. And then she won. And I went to nationals with her that year. And that was my first time attending nationals. And she got first runner-up, and I fell in love with the system. And so she decided that night after getting first runner-up that she was going to come back. So, of course, I went back with her the next year, and she won. And I told her, though, I think it was on the morning of prelim final night, I said, girl, if you win, I'm entering this pageant next year. And during crowning, we took a picture together. She said, don't you forget your promise. I'm glad that I kept it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, you mentioned Nikki, and Nikki is, for those of you who don't know, like, Nikki and Tiffany are like my number 1 and 2 like people in my life, and I know that Nikki and Tiffany have grown really close. And Nikki is like, she's so funny, and she's like one of the most determined people I've ever known, and she is so smart. And so Tiffany, I wanted to ask you, like, what are your, like, when you think of Nikki, like, do you think of Nikki? Do you think of Jared? Like, who's Nikki to you?
It's hard for me to call Nikki Jared, especially like when we're in public settings, like in Stock Center where she has a home, like in the middle of nowhere. It's hard for me to not yell across a public setting, hey, Nikki. And so it's definitely hard for me to call Nikki Jared. But Nikki's just one of my best friends, like somebody who I don't necessarily talk to as much as you. You and I talk on a daily basis, and it can be a 5-minute call or a 3-hour call. But Nikki is definitely somebody who I can call if I need to talk to her about something. Or just, shoot the shit. And she's just I consider her one of my best friends.
Absolutely.
And
so,
we'll always help anybody who needs it.
Of course, we had to ask her the same thing. So this is what she had to say.
Oh my God.
I have known Tiffany since 2009. We first met through some mutual friends, and I remember my initial reaction being, wow, she is so nice. And here I can even give you a perfect example of just how nice she is. In 2011, we were both competing for Miss Continental, and Tiffany, being the nice person that she is, she rhinestoned my talent costume as a sponsorship to help me for my first time at a national pageant. Clearly, she did not see me as the competition, and it was very true. I did not make the top 12. She did. Anyway, since then, and especially since her winning Miss Continental, we really grew into being best of friends, and it was pretty exciting to have her by my side when I won AAG, and to then have the tables turn, and for me to be able to crown her as AAG. Certainly something not a lot of people in this industry can say, that they got to crown their best friend, and it is a memory that I will remember forever.
Aww.
That's so sweet. Yeah, it's so funny because Nikki like worked so hard, but then was like, oh my gosh, Tiffany, I want this for you too. And everything like went so well for you that weekend, and it was really cool to see, even experience like from my perspective.
Yeah, it really was. And they always say, like, I've heard people say, like, in the old school, that you either love or hate the person who you crowned you or you crowned. And unfortunately, with Continental and with AG, like, obviously I haven't crowned anyone for AG, but like I just have so much love for the people that I'm connected to in both systems. And it was just a really special moment, though, for AEG crowning to be, like, there's a picture of her and I holding hands, like, right after I got crowned and I stood up. And I think that's one of my favorite pictures that I've ever had.
Our friend Nathan whispered to me, "Take this picture." I'm pretty sure I'm the one who took the picture. Speaking of special moments, Tiff, like, what is it about competing that you love the most?
I love the adrenaline, but most importantly, I love the camaraderie. I always make it a point to introduce myself to the contestants that I don't know. Like, all 6 years of Continental, I always feel like you have to enjoy the experience for it to be impactful. So I never want to walk away and be like, I don't know who that person is, or I don't remember them. So I always try to make it a point to introduce myself to people, try to get to know them, hang out with them, offer them rides. You know, if I was getting an Uber to and from rehearsals, or had a car, I would always offer it to people so we could share a few minutes of, you know, personal time. So my favorite thing is that literally just getting to know my fellow competitors. Because, you know, you have friends in life that you meet in various ways, but like most of my friends I met through pageants. And those are like the sisterhoods and the bonds that I will always have.
So let's talk about Continental.
Let's talk.
Baby, I need a drink for every time I say let's talk about Continental. I need to get a sip.
Is this like Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live? There's every time you hear this word.
So
my guests won't know, but every time you hear this word.
So you competed 6 times for this title.
Yes.
Was there ever a time when you said, I'm not doing this anymore?
Not anymore. 2011 was a hard year. And Brian got me through that. It was just emotional, financial, and we were able to pull through. Thanks to Brian, we got through it, and I showed up and got second runner-up. And then 2013 was a very difficult year. My heart wasn't in it, and I was kind of throwing together a package. And I'm embarrassed to say, but like I haven't told Brian this, like I had thoughts where I was like, I just want to walk out in front of a car so I can break my leg so that I can get out of doing the pageant this year without getting penalized. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a talent idea. I didn't have a gown idea. And Alberto, my choreographer that I've always used, said, let's figure it out. Brian and his boyfriend at the time helped me come up with a talent concept. My mother gave me money to pay for my evening gown. Brian helped me pay for the evening gown. So it was my loved ones who pushed me through.
2013, I did a lot of sewing for you.
You made my swimsuits, my talent costumes,
yeah,
my presentation.
You know, that's one thing that, you know, I want to ask you, because you went back to back for 5 years, you know, starting 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then you actually took a break in 2014, and then you came back to win in 2015. You know, it's rough. It's rough, you know, mentally, physically, to just run and have a different kind of package and reinvent yourself for the following year and do it all over again. You know, how did you get the stamina, the strength, the inspiration? You know, I know it takes a village, but how did you dig it from yourself? What did you do?
Well, after 2011, when I got second runner-up, I knew this was something that I wanted to do, and I would continue to do it until I won. And then again, after 13, after having those struggles to get to nationals, I knew I needed a year off. But I only took like 6 months off, and then I spent a year and a half putting together a package. And I have a very dear person to my heart named Bill, who was literally from the very first year that I entered Continental till the year that I won, was there for me, sending me, you know, messages and phone calls of encouragement and love. And without him, I never would have won any of my, you know, Continental or AG.
Before I go on, I wanna play some of Continental moments for you.
I wanna scream till the words die out. So put it in all of these.
Squeeze me, honey, I'm not hard to please. Give me love and don't hold back.
Every day a small piece of you dies.
Your love to keep away the cold I got. Steam heat I got.
Fires hurt and harbor you too.
This is not a personal essay.
No, and I say so boring and so much does nothing. Let your body move to the music. Hey, 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 song, let your body go with the flow. You
Aww.
That's a lot, Tiff. It makes me go back down memory lane in all those years and ideas and preparations.
You were in a couple of those talent numbers.
I know. I saw some of my sewing. I saw. This is not a personal essay. I was the lead professor. What made you keep going?
Again, just I knew that I wanted to be Miss Continental, and I was going to continue, and I was dedicated to the system that I was not going to do anything else until I won, however long that took.
Girl, now that I have both of you here, tell me about that talent. Tell me about that winning talent. I mean, how the hell did you come up with that Vogue? Something so classic, so really expected and simple. I mean, nobody would just think of recreating that, because it's been so seen. But you had the little twitch on it, on doing naming the Continentals and all of that. But how did it come up?
So I actually wanted to do the talent number for a long time. And everybody always kind of said, oh, it's been overdone, it's tired, it's old.
Raul, to your point, I would say it's done and redone. Like, we can't do that.
And then knowing that I've been wanting to do it for a while, actually in the same day, I had messages from Christoph, who is now a part owner of Vuitton, and Alberto, my choreographer. And it was just like this coincidence that they both said, have you ever thought about doing Madonna's Vogue? And I was like, oh my God, this is a sign.
And then Alberto actually reached out to me as well.
And so Alana Steele had done Vogue and she won AEG and rewrote the lyrics. But as I said earlier, I didn't know a whole lot about AEG. And actually at the time, I didn't know that she had already done it. So mad props to Alana. I love her to death. But I feel bad because I didn't mean to look like a copycat. I didn't know that she had done that before. But Brian actually brought me, he was like, hey, he's very clever. Brian's very clever.
I didn't know about that about Alana either.
Neither of us knew until the next day after I won, and people were reading me online for being a copycat. But and so Brian wrote these lyrics, and actually it was very hard for me to find someone to do it. So a couple people that I found fell through, and Monty St. James was actually using Alberto as well. And again, we were rehearsing, and every time it got to that part, we had to just skip and go to the end because I didn't have the mix made. And it was the week before Nationals that Monty was like, hey, I have a girlfriend who can sing this for you. Yeah. And so she literally sang it, I think, into her phone and sent it to me. I forwarded it to Alberto. We did a little bit of tweaking auto-tune, and we rehearsed with it literally the weekend of the pageant for the first time.
And
I will, it all came together.
Yeah, I will say Alberto was so on board. He understood that this was a must. And I told Tiffany, I'm like, you can't just do Vogue, right? I was like, what if you do start off like a prayer as if you're going to do some church thing. No one would expect your giant ball gown to be covered up. And it was just to make the beginning different and then the ending different.
And the beginning was a last minute thing too. So the costumes I actually rented from Jade Sinclair, who is also one of my council of drag moms. And I call her my drag fairy godmother, Tamara Horning, made a lot of adjustments and tweaks. And I think it was 2 weeks before the pageant. I was like, hey, can you make a black cover up to fully cover my Vogue costume, and she
And
looked
she
at me
didn't
like
believe
I was
it. She was like,
crazy.
"Are you sure?"
She looked at me like I was crazy, and so she made it and delivered it, and it worked out. So everything was kind of literally falling into place like the week or two before the pageant, and luckily it worked out.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I wrote the lyrics, and Tiffany adjusted like one or two things. I think I had Yoshiko in there twice or something. But yeah, I wrote the lyrics thinking it was an original idea. Props to Alana. Yeah, and Tiffany just made some tweaks and then sent it off to have it recorded.
Out of all the evening gowns that you wore, during your Continental years, which one has been your favorite?
From Continental, my gold gown from 2012 with the shoulder pads. That I like old school, drag, old school. So definitely that's my favorite. Second, probably my black feather gown that I wanted with the slit.
I want to play some of your, well, actually all of your looks from the Continental years.
Tell me how to be closer to ya. Tell me how, and I'll do it, babe. 'Cause I just wanna make you feel what I do about you. So just tell me how, and I'll do it, babe. I love it when you whisper in my ear, words only meant for me to hear. Promise that your secret's safe with me. You're the only reason, yes, you're the only reason. Baby, you're the answer to my prayers. Feeling like the world's in our hands. Now I know that this is meant to be. You're the only reason, yes, you're the only reason I'm free.
Gorgeous.
Hey, I'm so proud of you, Tiff.
Those first few years were rough, huh? I do want to say something to anybody out there who's nervous about entering a national pageant. I hope you saw the growth that you saw just then, because I was a hot mess in the beginning, and I hear so many girls say that they don't want to do a national pageant until they feel that they're ready. You're never going to be ready until you do it. I literally grew up and figured out how to do drag by competing for Continental. And had I never just entered, who knows what my current, position would be. Maybe I might not have ever won. So I think it's definitely just because I went in and I learned as I went, and that's what made me be ready, was by doing it. So anybody watching out there who's scared, you just got to put your toes in the pond.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Do you have any questions for Tiff, Brian, before we wrap up?
What's your favorite category?
Interview. So when you're on stage, people see all the beauty and the glamour and the jewelry and all the money you've spent, but you never really get to know a person when they're on stage and they're under spotlights and there's music playing. I love interview. I love being able to show the judges who I am. I love being able to get to know them a little bit, and I just love being able to make them laugh if I can during interview, because that's who I am. Tiffany on stage is just somebody I'm having fun playing dress up, but this is who I am in real life, and this is the person you're going to get, during my reign. Because when you're a national title holder, you're only you do 3 numbers at a prelim. That's 10 minutes tops, but you are literally Miss Continental or All American Goddess the whole time. So it's more about who you are as a person and not so much as what you're putting on stage, in my opinion.
Speaking of Continental and Goddess, who's your favorite Miss Continental? Who's your favorite Goddess?
Oh,
I know. I told Raul that was going to be a hard question.
Well, that's why I didn't ask it, babe, because I don't want to be the shady one.
So I
You want me to answer them for you? No, just kidding.
I seriously have so much love for all of my pageant sisters, but for Continental, I will say, just because they were so hands-on with me during my reign, it would be Naisha and Brooklyn. My whole reign, I called Naisha my Continental boyfriend and Brooklyn my Continental wife. Or husband, because they always constantly checked in on me. They gave me kind of, the down low tips and pointers and, the heads up. And so that they were just very helpful. If I had questions, I could reach out to them. if we were at a lot of prelims together, and they would sneak. I was nervous to drink in front of the people, so they would sneak me shots in the dressing room and be like, "Yo, girl, you need this." But they just really looked out for me and had my back. For Goddess, definitely Nikki Vixen, kind of an obvious choice. But again, I love, and I'm actually very close with all of the performers in both systems because I know all of them from my history in competing and doing shows. But it's very hard.
Would you say that you have a funny story from competing, a funny or like a crazy story? I mean, I've been with you for some of them. So like when your luggage got stolen on your way to 2012, that's a crazy story. But like any funny, crazy stories you want to share?
Yeah, well, 2012, I took a Greyhound from Minneapolis to Chicago to rehearse my talent number, and I was actually going to be in Chicago for 2 days rehearsing, and then Dallas for a gown fitting with JD Martin for a couple days. So I had like several days packed in a suitcase, and my suitcase got stolen off the Greyhound. And Maya Douglas was making my talent costume, so she actually helped me kind of get toiletries together, and I literally had to just put a bag together for 4 days. Like,
and this was mid-August or like early August, so it was right around the corner.
It was like a month before the pageant. My first year at Continental, it was at the Park West, and the dressing room was kind of like an L-shaped tent around the building.
Yes, that was the worst.
One of my friends, and I won't say who it was, put a little bit of vodka in a water bottle for me because I was so nervous, and so they were like, "Here, put this in your suitcase in case to help calm your nerves." And I was very close with Alyssa. I knew her from US of A, and I worked with her a lot. And Alyssa had come off stage from her talent number, and she had just danced the house down. And she walks by me, and she's like, "Tiffany, I need some of your water." And my friend, my dresser, was doing my hair for evening gown, and I kind of wasn't putting together what she said. And as I turned around and looked, she grabbed the bottle of the water bottle of vodka in it and took a sip of it and just spit it out all over the curtain, like the wall backstage. I felt so bad for her. And for AAG, it was during evening gown. So I had this yellow JD Martin gown, which is actually my favorite gown that I've ever worn. But so I had worn pantyhose when I went out in gown, but I had this rhinestone chain. And as I'm walking during solo modeling, the gown is just pulling and sagging on the pantyhose. And I was second to last in the contestants, and we had comparative. So I only had one contestant. I walked off stage, and I was like, "Get these pantyhose off me." But I had to take the shoes off. So Nikki and my dresser, Coco Van Cartier, are ripping my shoes off, and I can't take the gown off for them. So they're cutting it, trying to rip into the crotch to cut the pantyhose to take them all down so that I can walk back out and do comparative, because you actually get scored during comparative, not during solo modeling. So that was stressful.
To wrap up your Continental experience, you were featured in the Queen's documentary about Continental. After seeing the final product, do you think that it embodies the Continental experience for what it really is?
I do. I think it's a beautiful story, and I think the producer, director, Mark Saxenmeyer, I think he did a lovely job. Again, I wish it represented more of who I am now, because it was filmed 9 years ago. And as you saw from Continental, right? 2011? Yeah, 9 years ago. And as you saw through my Continental journey on that video, I'm a much different person now.
Right.
So I wish it represented a little bit more of who I am currently, but it definitely showcases who I was and I am as a whole. And I think it's a beautiful story about pageants. I think it's a beautiful story about Continental. I think it's a beautiful story about trans women and some of the struggles we've had. I think he did an excellent job, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. He actually flew me to a couple premieres out of his own pocket to be present, to do like Q&As and things. So shout out to Mark if you're watching. Thank you so much and he put this all together, and he paid for the whole movie himself. So he did a great job.
So I want to show everybody some promos because you cannot, for the life of you, take one bad picture. And we all hate you for it and love you at the same time. And all of these are from Tio. Obviously, he's just amazing.
Phenomenal
In what he does. Just phenomenal. So I wanted to share with everybody these images. These are all from Tio. And then we have this one, which is a beautiful shot from Scotty Kirby.
Yes.
Yes. which is amazing.
That was my
So-
step-down gown from
From Continental. Yes, that's right. So we're going to move on to our next segment. And this is our last segment of the evening. I'm only going to take, because we're already running out of time, a few questions from our viewers to see what, you know, they want to ask you. So are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Before we move on, I want to make sure that everybody knows that after our interview with Tiffany, Tasha Long is going to be having her weekly show on her Facebook Live, all these but goodies. So she's going to be giving us some good drag. And remember that, you know, these entertainers right now depend on your generosity. So if you find it in your heart to give a little love offering, just please follow, even if you don't watch the whole thing or don't feel like watching at all. Sometimes a little bit goes a long way. So these are our cash apps there too. And that's Tiffany's and Brian's and I put mine up, which is today's the second day, which I actually do that because I've been asked to do so. People do
You put a
want
lot
to.
of work into this. I had no.
I understand, but it's also, you know, it's my stress relief, and at the same time it's homage and tribute to all of you. So it's kind of like a gift, but I also feel like it's rude not, you know, ignoring everybody else that wants to kind of like, you know, give something. And then I really appreciate all of you, and I appreciate everything that you do for the entertainers as well. So let's move on to some questions. What do we have? Let's do Todd right here. He said some LGBTQ plus may not be fortunate to have a supportive family. If you could have a conversation with the unsupportive parents of an LGBTQ youth, what message would you have for them? What would you say to the LGBTQ coming out?
I had a trans friend who came out, and her parents had a difficult time with it, and she would go down there, you know, for holidays, and they would, you know, misgender her, and they refused to call her by her chosen name, and that is a huge blow on someone's self-esteem. And so I told her, I said, you should never beg somebody to love you. You need to. So if they aren't getting it, you're just perpetuating the problem by allowing them to treat you this way. So I told her, I was like, you have to stand up and either just tell them that until they can respect you, that you won't see them. And actually, my mother, because this person had come home to my family get-togethers for a while when she wasn't welcome, and my mom offered to reach out to her mom to explain things.
That's very nice.
Because it wasn't necessarily easy for my mom in the beginning. She didn't get it. She was supportive, but it took a while for her to get it. So I think to like a parent who's coming out, you just need to realize, how would you feel if your parents were disrespectful to you and weren't respecting your choices?
Right.
You don't have to understand somebody to love them. You just have to love them.
Period. You know, and I always say that, you know, that none of us are born with a manual on how to live our own life. You know, so parents don't know how to be parents. We don't know how to be sons and daughters. You know, it's very difficult to adjust, but the key, you just said it right there, is love. You know, so once you have that and you have that empathy with everybody else, I think that it all comes together by then. You know, there's another question here by Brock. What national pageant is next for you?
Oh, definitely. Like, I'm not done competing by any means. I don't have, now that I'm reigning for All American Goddess for another year, I don't have any plans to do anything, you know, in the near future. But I mean, obviously, like, I have unfinished business with US of A. That was my first national pageant back in 2007, as I mentioned earlier. So I definitely have interest to go there. I adore Westland. I've had the privilege to judge it before. I would love to do that. I've had the privilege to judge EOY, which gave me a lot of insight to their scoring system. So, you know, I would love to do that. So there's an open book of possibilities. At this point, I'm just enjoying being All-American Goddess and spreading the goddess around the world.
Good. What is your best advice for someone who is doing their first national pageant?
Don't stress over the little things, and don't put things off for tomorrow. Do what you can do today. Because if it something little as rhinestoning or ordering something online and you keep putting it off, then you miss deadlines, and then you procrastinate, and then things pile up. And don't worry when things aren't coming together, because every national pageant I've ever done, it's always that last 2 weeks that everything kind of just starts to like fall into place. So things will happen and things will be fine. Just need to don't procrastinate and do the best you can, because if you're doing the best you can't blame yourself for anything else.
you know, and I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Olivia Ray Taylor who asked this question because she's the current
Heart of Florida
newcomer. Yes, and she does a fabulous job. She's very engaged. She's very smart, very giving, and very she's very careful about her art form and what she puts a lot of effort into it. So a big shout out to you. We all see you.
She has a bright future.
Yes, she does. Any changes in pageantry you would like to see? Oh, this is my husband, by the way, asking this question.
Jason, I would like to see transparency with scores. I've had an issue with things for a long time. I don't understand how it takes a long time for scores to be produced. I don't think scores should be private. I just don't understand how sometimes it takes days or weeks for pageantry to produce scores. If you have nothing to hide, then what's going on? And I think a lot of it is just old school thinking or mentality. With technology today, we can type scores in as they're coming, and it can be a link that is just, you know,
I've always said that.
And all they have to do is click on the link for their scores.
I mean, even with not even now, we've been seeing that same thing on Miss Universe, you know, happening for the past 15 years. We used to see the scores on the screen as the girls were coming out. So I've always wondered that same thing too. I don't know. Antonio Edwards, my brother, you are widely known. Yes, you're widely known as America's sweetheart. Are there any misconceptions about you?
Shout out to St. Louis, Antonio Edwards.
Yeah. Again, as I said earlier, I think people see me as, you know, a bubbly, outgoing person, and I'm kind of, you know, reserved and an introvert for the most part. I don't do much. And I think
I have a misconception. Tiffany and I have never dated.
Oh yeah.
I thought. Oh my God! I totally thought that.
We dated, or we used to go together, or so. Never, not once.
We don't go together.
I totally thought that. I was guilty of that. I was like, oh no, I can't talk to that boy. I can't talk to the man, honey. That's Tiffany's man, honey.
No.
No.
So, when you decide to retire, what do you want your legacy to be?
Great question, Tiff.
Yeah. So I always try to base my interactions with people on memories. Like, because when I look back at people I look up to, I remember how they made me feel. And I want people to just remember that I made them feel good. I made them feel welcome, that I respected them, and that we had positive connections, that I noticed them and I saw them.
I want to thank you so much for doing this.
Are we done?
We're done. What, you want to keep talking, girl?
Oh.
Tiffany, it's been an hour and 24 minutes.
I can give you 2 more questions. Let's see. I'll give you 2 more questions. Hold on. Why isn't this working? Wait a minute. Okay.
While you're looking, I do want to say one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
If you haven't noticed on social media that we are, they're having protests organized at Hammer Mary's. There was one last Sunday, and there's another one this coming Sunday. So it's at the corner of 4th and Washington, 400 Washington Avenue to be exact. And there's another protest this Sunday. So if you live in the St. Louis area, the surrounding areas, please come and let your voices be heard to know that we have to stop this behavior. We need positive changes. Call time is 11 a.m. I hope to see as many friendly, familiar faces as I can.
When is this happening?
This Sunday at 11 a.m.
This Sunday at 11 a.m. For some reason, I can't pull up anything else. I'm trying, but this is freezing up on me. But I can wait a minute. What do you think it will take to get the world of LGBTQ plus pageantry to television with trans people inclusion?
So I'm actually proud of a lot of the pageant systems that have started allowing post-op trans, because all trans women, regardless of what surgery you've had, should have the same chance. And this is a little bit off topic of the question, but like EOI, Continental, and All American Goddess all now allow post-op trans women to compete as they should. Because we've all been fighting for so long that it doesn't matter what's in my pants. That my genitals should not matter to you. So I definitely think that that's important, that all systems get on board with that. Secondly, I know there's a lot of like controversy with who likes RuPaul's Drag Race and who doesn't, but I do think that that is a step in the right direction to see for the heterosexual community, or people who wouldn't see drag in a normal way, like in a bar or a nightclub, for them to experience a little bit of drag. I think it's getting there soon. The issue is that televising something like that is a huge financial cost.
Right.
And most of these pageants don't make money. So it's going to take a network to produce this, not the pageant owners. The pageant owners lose money most likely on these, paying their prize package and their formers and their, all that. They're not making the money to pay for it to be on TV. And then when you think about the rights to all the music that they have to cover, so it's literally going to take a production, company to say, we're going to fund this. And I hope it's coming. I hope they see the success of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I hope that can one day maybe put things in motion to broadcast pageantry, because I think it's something people would like. I really, really do.
I have one more question for you, Tiff. How would you like us to remember you by when you're no longer in this world?
I think that's up to every individual person. I hope I've made a good impression on people. I hope that I'm remembered in a positive light, but I have no control over that. And I don't want to influence that. Like, I'm just going to continue being me. And I hope at the end of the day that you will remember me in a positive way.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being you. I hope that you enjoyed, even though I made you cry and you don't hate me forever. Thank you, Brian, for doing this with me. I appreciate you. You are
love you,
my
Brian.
everything. I love you too. And we're gonna continue to talk soon after this because we got some tea to talk about.
I find out things.
You're a good investigator. I think you liked it today. I'll talk to you soon, babe. I love you. Tiffany, I appreciate you very much. Very, very
I love
much.
you. Thank you.
I love you more. And I hope to see you soon, very soon after this is over, and give you a big hug.
Oh, me too.
Thank you for
I've
doing
had
this.
such a good time. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
I'll talk to you soon.
Come on.
I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. It was just a great conversation. She's just a sweetheart. I want to remind everybody that next week, even though it's tough for me, it really is tough for me. I feel like I need a week off because I work on this 24/7, and it's I think I'm gonna take a couple of days off. But next week we're on, and I have some great entertainers that I haven't decided, but I'll be releasing the flyer on Sunday. So just please make sure that you tune in for that. Stay tuned on social media for my announcement. Make sure that right after we sign off here, you go to Tasha Long's, you support her show. She really needs to support, and she puts on an amazing, amazing show. She thinks about it, and she just does it. She's just amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in for a different kind of talk. My name is Raul Griffith. Have a good night.